This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, Secret Treasure Land. My name is Mark Starosciak, and wanted to give you a more condensed version of what I think is going on with St. Augustine. So I published a fairly lengthy solve about it, and I want to just, again, zoom in just on the ideas here. So if you want more background on me and what I'm doing, watch that other video. This one, we're just gonna dive right in. So solve ideas on St. Augustine. So many of the clues in the verse support Anastasia Park is the right place. Okay, and again, there a lot of things fit with these things, with the verses and the paintings, and people can find all these matches. And we have to find the right one, right? So you can show me all these things where, hey, I see this, hey, it's a perfect fit. Okay, and then what else is a perfect fit? Like you need the verse and the painting to go together. You need visual clues. You need maps. Items that we've talked about before point to the box or where it should be. Okay, so you got to put it all together, right? So something that fits just perfectly, I can find all kinds of things that do that. So many clues point to Anastasia, I think, in the verse, and some of those are the green picket fence, right? So the amphitheater in Anastasia, which is kind of the centerpiece for Anastasia Park, it's very famous and has great, incredible history when you start looking into it. But that was like a big thing, and it's still there, this green picket fence. So that's talked about, okay? Now, are there other green picket fence around? Sure. In Anastasia Park, that is kind of like just one of the things it was known for. So I like that. I like that connection to Anastasia Park. It makes sense to me, and it doesn't seem like a stretch. So we talk about in the verse shell, limestone, silver, and salt, and that's on the sign for. Just get this up here. Yeah. So this is on the sign, right? That talks about the quarries. So the amphitheater is built on one of the quarries, I believe, in my research. But it talks about shells and limestone and sand and sort of things that you would connect to the verse, right? It's like sitting right here in this. So you have quarries as a centerpiece to what was going on in the park. Like for hundreds of years, and the Castillo de San Marcos was built out of the limestone, I guess, that they quarried out of there. So look, again, are there other connections? Sure, that you can draw. But if I'm talking Anastasia Park, like what are some of the main features there? And he's mentioning those in the verse. So it's like, it's there, right? It's there. So I'm not saying your idea isn't right if you're not in Anastasia Park. Could be. This idea that I'm presenting to you is supported, okay? And it's not a stretch. It's like there. Okay. Oops. Go back to my slideshow. Okay. All right. Green picket fence. That teardrops and rain falls. So, he's talking about this sort of at the very end. Of course, that leads you to where I think the box is. So here's my, this is the crux of it all. The flag and the painting is not random, okay? It's very much a centerpiece, and it means something. So bear with me for a moment. With the flag, it's either random or it's not. And so I've looked very intensely, as many of you have. I've looked at 5 puzzles, okay? Spent way too much time on them, but I've really, really studied them. And am I right on any of these? I don't know. I have high conviction about where I think they are. However, you start to see patterns, and I encourage you to do this before, is solve other puzzles. Like, go into those. It's going to help you with this one and other ones. So I think the more you solve other puzzles, the more chance you have of being right, okay, on any one of them. So when I look at these paintings, like, I don't think there's any randomness to them, right? Especially main features of them. It's just like, what is it? What is it trying to represent? Is it an overhead, a 2D, 3D? Is it a map? Like, what is it? And then sorting through all that. So the centerpiece of, or one of the centerpieces to this painting that JJP put together, is a pretty incredible painting. This is a centerpiece, the flag, okay? So when I look at that, it's not random to me. So it means something. So if you're willing to take that leap with me, that it does mean something, then what does it mean? Okay. So I published this before, and I look at it, and I'm just looking at maps, and I say, poof, here's this like really good fit. Is it exact? No, it's not. Probably shouldn't be, right? It's like he's going to give you hints and make you think and leave some room for it to not be right, but he's going to give you something close, I think, in these paintings. So the shape of the flag matches the road into Anastasia, and that is the crux of it. So if that's the case, then where would the box be? I'm guessing it's at the end of the flag or very near it. Okay, so that's another sort of leap of faith that I'm making. But if I'm going to represent this flag, I don't know why I would put it like in the middle of the flag if it's a road. Okay, so the other aspect of this is when you look, very closely at the flag, and we'll do that here in a sec. It appears man-made to me. There are some very sharp angles in the flag. So you think about a flag and how that looks. If it's blowing in the wind, I mean, it's very organic. There aren't any harsh angles to it, I guess, unless it's just recently unfolded. And so when I look, so people say, well, this is a perfect match to the river. Okay, it does match. It's matched shape. But if you said, like, hey, it's the road to Anastasia or it's the river, I'm going to tell you this thing, it's represented as man-made. It has these sharp angles to it. And the river does not, even though the shape is close. So this speaks to, how do we actually get to the right place? Not a place that fits, but the right place, right? So if you, say, hey, Mark, river, road, I'm going road, okay? I think that's a higher probability answer to what the flag represents. And by the way, when I lay it over a map with the Castillo de San Marcos, it's like right there. It's got these sharp angles like the flag does, at least the beginning of the road. So I'm on the road, folks, and maybe you're not, that's fine, and you want to make something that fits with the river, that's fine. I don't think that adds up. At least doesn't add up as much to me, okay? So flag means something, it's man-made, it's road, match the shape of the road. At the end of the flag, it's probably the box. So that's where I'm at. So this one, like unlike the other ones, as far as I know, there's no clock. And so those clock hands, I think, are always pointing to the box. So you've got in the other images, you've got the hands at 11 o'clock, 4, whatever it is, and they're pointing to ultimately an overhead of the area where the box is. At least that's what I see. So here you don't have that, okay? So I think it's important to bear that in mind, is you don't have clock hands directing you. So maybe there's something else directing you, right? That's a leap of faith, but I think it's a very reasonable one in this instance. So if I don't have a clock, what do I have? I got the flag. So that's where I'm at, folks. The flag is pointing to the box. We're very near it. So follow the flag. All right, so there's no clock hands. Flag. The jewel is represented in a teardrop shape. It's sunken down near a man-made object. So do we have that? And yeah, I mean, we do. So I got to come off this. All right. So you with me on this? Like, some of the feedback I've gotten is like, this is too easy. Like, maybe you're too complicated. Like, I think that's a bias, right? This is too easy. Like, how do we know? How do we know it's too easy? They've said, JJP, and I think maybe Byron said, like, some puzzles are easier than others. Like, this is one I think you can get to the area. Now, it's a huge area down there, so you must use the verse and other visual cues to get you to the right spot, right? It's talking a 7x7, something like that. So this is getting us to the general area. Now, how do we zoom in? So one of the problems in Anastasia, this area of the park has been reworked. There was a major parking lot renovation, and then the building down there that I'm going to show you, that's totally changed. Like, they've taken there was one building there, they took it out, and they put the big island bar in there. It's kind of like 3 buildings now, right over the road. And the road used to extend all the way around. Now it doesn't. Now it ends in this teardrop shape, and I actually think that's where the box is, or there's a potential that's where it is or was. Okay, so here's my here's my flag overlaid on the map. Oops. Get down here. How come it's not letting me? Jeez. What's going on here? Sorry. Okay. So let's go to this guy. Sorry. All right. All right, there we go. Sorry. So here's the painting overlaid on the map. And again, there's some argument. So what happens at the background? I didn't realize this. The flag or the painting, this was covered up. Okay, the Castillo de San Marcos, and I know some people say, well, it's this, or it's represented a part like the circle that's overlaid on top of this image here, that made it into the book. Like, oh, that's a park or something. It's like, no, like think about this. If JJP created these incredible paintings, right? And so you imagine the folks sitting there looking at like a pre-production book of this, and they look at it and they're like, wow, like that is too much information there. So they actually covered this up, right? They went and they put, oops, that's the wrong one. Yeah, so they put, that's the wrong one. This circle. So they put this over top of JJP's painting. So think about this, like they're sitting there in the room and they're looking at these incredible paintings like for the first time in the book and whatever. And it's like they go over top of JJP. Imagine that, right? It's to go over top of the artist and say, hey, we're going to change your painting in the book. I think that was a big deal. So I don't think they would do that lightly. I don't think that would be why don't we do this? Or, hey, if the flag in the representation of the Castillo de San Marcos, if that was like a minor thing, a minor hint, they wouldn't need to cover it up, okay? But they go over top of the artist and they make this like big change. And so I think that indicates to you, and there's different theories about this, this is just mine, that, this was so important and was so obvious to, what they didn't want you to do is be able to solve it this way. They wanted you to have to look and research and do all the things you need to do. So I think that's important. I do. This is the Castillo de San Marcos. I think it's so apparent when you look at the overheads. So anyway, that's where I'm at, right? So in the painting, if we take it and we, sort of hide it, I put in red, I actually outlined on the map the road, right? To show you just how good of a fit that is. Is it perfect? No, I'll give you that. It's not. And I think it was a perfect match for the road. Again, you wouldn't need to do all the things they wanted you to do, is to get out there, research, look, explore, go to the library, do all these things. But I think this is one where you don't have to do that. Just kind of get to the right spot. Okay, so are you with me on this? This match is pretty good. Okay, I've got these angles, right? These sharp, oops, let's do that. Got these sharp angles on the flag. So just I'm not on, this is the river. Okay. So that's where we're at. So let's zoom in just a little bit more and look at the final aspect of the flag. And so, like, do we have some of the elements down here? So this, again, is, I think it's a pretty good fit. Okay. So do we have some of the elements down in this area? When you study these paintings and then the other solves, like, what are some of those elements? Like, he wants a parking lot. Well, he's in a park. We all know that. He's in a parking lot. He doesn't walk very far, seemingly. So you get to think about all the equipment he's got. Maybe he's dressed up like a construction worker or whatever. Like, he's not going to walk a half mile, probably. At least in the ones that I've looked at, there's like park, a parking lot, and a man-made structure nearby. So do we have that down here? Well, indeed we do. So when you look at I did a little compare to where we're at. So there's park, there's the end of the flag down here. So this is, for whatever reason, I think I blow this up. There we go. So whatever reason that the overlay from 2021, which is the last satellite, just it's blank. So I'm using 2019 against 1983. So you can see the change in, I'm just going to make it a little gentle here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so here's 83, right? So this road comes down and it just keeps on going. So they got rid of this road. It was so near the beach, I guess. There's another parking lot down here where the flag kind of actually ends. So, like, could it have been in here? Maybe. This is a very grainy shot. So you have some problems with St. Augustine. This whole parking lot, they redid this whole thing. They redid the whole thing. And I think it's Laura, and I can't remember her last name. She's like up in here, like near the anchor and all that. I'm fine with that, I think. And then she also has some visual cues, mapping and stuff. I think she's spot on. Like the feet are represented by a portion of the map, sort of north of here. But look back at her stuff, because I do think she's right. It's just, I think it's a little further. So here we go. Like, here's the old building that was here, and she actually sent me a really great picture. I'm going to show you. It's quite a bit more clear than this. But you've got this parking lot here, you've got the man-made structure, and then you have this teardrop. And so this looks like a teardrop here to me, and this one too. So folks, this is where I'm at. Now, when I zoom in here, it's so grainy, it's hard to see, but there doesn't look like, to me, like any trees in this teardrop. And this teardrop is now sitting below the island bar. So, why have I not gone to St. Augustine? I think there's a good chance it's gone for a variety of reasons. And we've all talked about this. It's like, all these storms have rolled through and really changed things. So go back to the verse. He's got you like near a tree, I think. Are those trees there like a palm tree? Or same thing in Charleston. It's like all these storms and there's been, natural changes to landscape and man-made here, unfortunately. So I think if it's in this teardrop here, there's a chance, because that still exists. And it looks to me like this dark area, these are trees. These are trees in here. So like it's, would have been maybe in here. But let me just show you, like, now, if you're down in the park, how this area has changed, right? So there's now in this teardrop here, right? So they close the road, and now you have to turn around and head back. Initially, I thought, oh, maybe this teardrop, but that wasn't there back in the 80s, right? That was just road, right? So teardrop kind of like number one, at least on this, which is very near this old building. And then that picture I got indicates that maybe this wasn't really a teardrop. I don't know. It's really hard to say. But this one over here, very teardrop looking, and it still exists. So that's the turnaround today. So folks, this is where I'm at. Like, I'm in this teardrop. Mentions teardrops. There's many things pointing to the park. But I don't know. Somebody needs to go and poke and probe this teardrop. Now, I remember reading somewhere, somebody had mentioned this too, that it's going to be in a teardrop in one of the message boards. I think it was from long ago. Anyway, so I'm not the only one that has this idea. Now, how that person got to this spot, I'm not quite sure. But this is where I'm at. Like, I'm down here. Let me get you into, this sort of better map. And you can see now this is a lot more clear. And I'm not sure where, again, I apologize on the name. I think it's Laura, whose grandfather donated the anchor. So she sees anchors, and the anchor was moved around. I think she's close, but I think the anchor is honestly a little stretch. And the flag sort of ends actually like more down here. But this, that to me is a spot. And like I showed you, I think it's certainly probable and maybe diggable. So somebody get down there. You can see the building right here, real close, and here's his parking lot. So steps right here, and it looks like he's got some cover, which again is something I think you notice in these. He's not like, for example, Wright Brothers in Roanoke, like it's way too in the open. I think that's not an area like he's kind of off to the side with views. So that's what I have for you here today, and I hope this is more direct in terms of evidence for this area. So very interested to know your thoughts. And hey, look, if I'm wrong here, if there's something way out of alignment, then let's chat about. Let's get rid of this idea, okay? You're not going to hurt my feelings. However, like I'm gonna make a case for this unless and until I see some really strong evidence against it. Okay, so anyway, that's what I have for you this morning. And I do have a present. I'm going to give you all a big holiday Christmas present. I'm going to give you bookends for the crown jewels. I'm going to give you New York and San Francisco. So I will have those published here, I hope, in the next week. All right, happy hunting to you all. We'll see you soon.